When people think of World War II, they imagine tanks, machine guns, and bombs falling from the sky. But what most never realize is that some of the deadliest weapons used in that modern, industrial war were ancient in origin, tools whose roots stretch back thousands of years. And before I reveal the most shocking one of all at the end, you need to understand why these primitive weapons even survived into a war of steel and fire. Because when technology failed, when ammunition ran out, and when combat collapsed into chaos, soldiers reached for what humans have always trusted at arm's length. First, the sword. And not as a ceremonial relic, but as a battlefield weapon. Because during World War II, Japanese officers carried and used the katana, a blade whose design philosophy came from feudal Japan, forged for cutting efficiency and psychological dominance. And on battlefields across China, the Pacific Islands, and even during charges, these swords were used in real combat. Not only for killing, but to command fear. Because a man advancing with a drawn blade creates a primal terror that no rifle alone can match. And what made this ancient weapon deadly in a modern war was not nostalgia but proximity, as jungle fighting and urban chaos erase the advantage of long-range weapons. Next comes the spear reborn as the bayonet, a concept older than recorded history. Because fixing a blade to the end of a rifle turns a firearm into a thrusting weapon little different from ancient spears used by Greek hoplites or Roman legionaries. And in World War II, bayonet charges were not myths but documented reality, especially in the Pacific and on the Eastern Front, where close-quarters assaults demanded silent killing, brutal momentum, and psychological shock. And when you delay pulling the trigger and step forward with cold steel, you force the enemy into a moment where fear decides faster than bullets. But ancient lethality did not stop there, because fire, humanity's oldest weapon, returned in horrifying form through flamethrowers, which echoed ancient fire-based weapons used in sieges and naval warfare. And in World War II, these devices turned bunkers, trenches, and caves into death traps. Because fire does not need precision. It only needs oxygen. And soldiers feared it not only for the pain it caused, but for its inevitability. Since once fire entered an enclosed space, there was nowhere to hide, making it a modern delivery system for one of the oldest killing methods known to man. Now hold on. Because the next weapon proves that even without blades or fire, raw impact has always been enough. As clubs and maces, some improvised and some issued, appeared again in World War II during raids and trench assaults, especially among commandos and night fighters. Because a simple blunt weapon is silent, reliable, and devastating at close range, cracking skulls just as effectively as it did in ancient warfare. And when silence meant survival, ancient logic beat modern noise. And now, before I reveal the deadliest of them all, understand this pattern. Every time the battlefield collapsed into intimacy, ancient weapons returned. Because technology depends on systems, while ancient weapons depend on the human body itself. And that brings us to the most unsettling survivor of all, the knife and dagger, perhaps the oldest purpose-built killing tool in human history. And in World War II, it became one of the most feared weapons in commando warfare, trench fighting, and infiltration missions. Because knives do not jam. They do not reveal your position. And they end a fight in seconds. And armies understood this so well that they designed specialized combat knives inspired by ancient daggers, optimized for thrusting between ribs and under armor, making this ancient weapon the quiet backbone of modern special operations. What makes these weapons truly terrifying is not their age but their persistence. Because despite radar, rockets, and automatic guns, war still devolved into moments where ancient solutions were the most effective, reminding us that progress does not erase human nature. It only circles back to it. And World War II proved that when fear, exhaustion, and survival collide, humanity reaches backward, not forward, choosing steel, fire, and muscle over machines. And if these ancient weapons could dominate the most technologically advanced war the world had ever seen, the real question is not why they were used, but why we ever thought they would disappear at all.